My name is Bob Diaz. I'm the chairman of the Public Policy Committee for the River Region Chamber of Commerce, and we'd like to welcome you all tonight. Can everybody hear me? Is that better? Okay, my name is Bob Diaz. I'm the Public Policy Chairman with the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce tonight's moderator. His name is Mr. Tommy Fauché. He's with Dow Chemical. Tommy's the senior manager of state government affairs at Dow Chemical. He currently serves on the board of directors of the Association of Business and Industry. Also with the past chairman of the G&O Inc. Tommy's very active in the political arena, as you can imagine, working for Dow. Tommy received his bachelor's degree in communications and public relations with a minor in political science from Loyola University. He resides in Luling with his wife and 2 children. Without further ado, Mr. Tommy.
Good evening. Good evening. I don't know who had the good luck, but the rain was close. It looks like it's held off so far. So thank you, everyone, for coming. And welcome to the St. James Parish President's Forum, sponsored by the River Region Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber and our members in all 3 river parishes, I really do want to thank you and welcome you. We pride ourselves on these events and have each election cycle, but it's only truly bringing value to the community if the community comes out and listens and hears from their candidates directly. So I do want to thank both of you. I want to introduce, we have 2 of the 3 candidates for parish president with us tonight, Mr. Pete Dufrene, as well as Mr. Brandon Keller. Ms. Wanda Dumas-Pierre could not attend, so we will have questions for both of these candidates tonight. And let me explain to you the rules for tonight's forum so you understand the format and how this will work. Each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 3-minute opening statement. We'll then move through a series of questions, and the questions were written and created based on topics brought to us by the members of the River Region Chamber of Commerce. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to each question, and we'll alternate who gets to go first. And then when we're done with the question portion of the program, each candidate will have 3 minutes to make a closing statement. And so we look forward to that. We do have time limits to make sure that we move through this process as efficiently but as fully as possible. And so I want to thank Ms. Libby Holtard, who will be our timekeeper this evening. We've gone through this with the candidates, but just so you as the audience knows, when they have 30 seconds to go, Libby will give you this sign, which means 30 seconds, start wrapping it up. And then at the end of the 3 minutes, she'll hold up this red card here, which means, quite frankly, stop. And so we will try to honor that just so that each of you get a chance to answer a good number of questions to hopefully inform the residents and voters. For the audience, we do have some guidelines for you as well. I would ask you to please minimize any distractions. Of course, saying that we don't want outbursts, I think, doesn't sound very positive. So how about no offering constructive criticism to our candidates? Let them go through the questions and answer them to the best that they can. I'll ask if you have any cell phones, if you could try to put them on silent or vibrate. We'd appreciate that. And please, no video recordings. As you can see, we do have 3 cameras here. The Chamber is recording tonight's program, as we are in all 3 parish forums, St. Charles, St. John, and St. James. This will be provided to the public on the Chamber's website pretty quickly, I'd imagine. Today, the St. Charles is already up, and that was last night. So you will have an opportunity to go back and look at the video and share with your friends and neighbors who may not have been able to come tonight. So we ask that you do not record this yourself. With that, I think we are ready to get started if the candidates are. And so we'll start with the opening statements. Mr. Dufrene, I will give you the chance to go first. 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. I want to thank the chamber for hosting this event. I want to thank you guys for taking an interest in St. James Parish and who your future leader is going to be. My name is Pete Dufrene. I was born and raised in St. James Parish. My parents is Bob and Eva Dufrene. My grandfather is the late assessor and Mr. Ellis Bourgeois. I was born in Gramercy. I went to school in Lutcher. I live in Paulina. I own and operate my businesses in Convent. My parents went to school here on the West Bank, and all my family's from North and South Vassar. I have ties to absolutely every district in the parish. I'm well aware of the needs and the concerns of the parish, and hopefully I can take all of my experience that I've learned in my adult life by being self-employed to bring to St. James Parish and to be a good parish president, to unify St. James Parish and to make St. James Parish a better place to live, to work, and to raise our children.
Mr. Keller.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to first begin by thanking the Chamber and its Board of Directors for hosting this forum this evening. My name is Braven Keller, and I'm a candidate for St. James Parish President. I entered this race because I feel that I'm the only candidate that can offer the best for the people of St. James Parish. I will use my experience on the local, state, and federal level to serve the people of St. James Parish. For the last 4.5 years, I've worked in the local government, currently as Deputy Assessor for St. James Parish Assessor Glenn Wagaspat, and previously before that as a Public Information Officer for St. James Parish Government. These positions have allowed me to interact with a variety of individuals and officials at the local, state, and federal level, and I've gotten a very broad overview of what the government does and how to go about executing the job at hand. In addition to that, I have served at the state level, interning with the leaders at the Louisiana legislature, and I've also interned at Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. with former Representative Charlie Malonson. I've also had the distinct honor and privilege to serve our country as an alumnus of the White House Internship Program. These experiences have exposed me to all levels of government. I understand the resources that are available in both the state and federal level, and I intend to work every day tirelessly to bring that money and resources to the people of St. James Parish. There are a lot of resources and funding available for our community. We just have to put out our hand and ask for it. So that's why I'm running, and I look forward to further explaining my vision for the future for St. James Parish. Thank you.
Thank you both. We'll go ahead and now start with our questions, and Mr. Keller, you actually can go first on this one. First question, what is your top issue for St. James Parish, and what experience do you have that will help you address your top issue?
Thank you. My top issue for St. James Parish is improving the quality of life for all of our residents. Quality of life encompasses several different focuses. The first is everyone needs a safe and stable environment to live. I want to make sure that we can expand upon access to affordable housing in our community. Currently, we have throughout the parish a shortage of affordable housing units for people to purchase and reside in. I know that the parish is working on a housing study, and that study should be a blueprint and a guide to allow us to figure out how we want to move forward and to produce smart growth for our community and make sure that we're putting housing in the most effective places within our community. In addition to that, once you have a home, you want to make sure that your home is safe. I know that an issue that comes up often is drainage and infrastructure. We need to work on improving our current drainage system by regularly maintaining our parish drainage canals and ditches. So I will work to put a regular maintenance schedule together for clearing out of our ditches and canals and expanding and improving upon our drainage system as our parish grows and we continue to develop. Another important issue concerning quality of life is activities and programs for the residents to participate in. One of my goals is to expand our the facilities within our parks, and also to add additional recreational activities and programs for our residents. That way they can remain vibrant, active members of our community. I also want to expand upon our senior citizens program and expand our senior citizen centers by making sure that there's state-of-the-art facilities that encompass all of the important resources that we need for our seniors so that they can truly enjoy their golden years in life. So by focusing on these issues, I plan on improving the quality of life here in St. James Parish for all of our people.
Mr. Dufrene, what do you see as your number one issue? And how you use what experience we use to accomplish that?
Well, to say my number one issue, we have several that I think is pertinent to St. James Parish residents. Our number one issue, one of the number one issues is flood protection and surge protection and drainage. I intend to, firstly, and as soon as I will be able to take office, we're going to start to continue to cut and maintain and dig our drainage canals, which we have been lacking in the last several years. We need to come up with a good surge protection plan for the whole East Bank of St. James Parish right now. We need a plan that's going to take any tax dollars that we can provide from ourselves, that we can get matching funding from the federal government to enhance our flood protection. The next biggest thing I want to do is infrastructure. We being bombarded in St. James Parish with industry, and we have nowhere near the infrastructure that we need to handle the industry and the traffic that we have in St. James Parish. One of the big plans that I have for infrastructure is to build a coalition. And what I mean by that is, in St. James Parish, we can't do it alone. In the whole entire river parishes has been bombarded with industry, and we need the infrastructure to handle it, which we do not have. And what I mean is, St. Charles Parish is part of the New Orleans Highway District. St. John Parish is part of the Hammond Highway District. St. James and Ascension Parishes is part of the Baton Rouge's Highway District. We have all this industry producing all of these revenues and tax dollars in our area. And when highway monies are allocated in Baton Rouge, they don't come to the river parishes because they go to the rest of these highway districts. I want to redistrict the highway districts so the river parishes can create its own highway district so we can enhance our infrastructure, and maybe we may be able to get one highway done from one end of the parish to the next. Another big thing is recreation. I want to unite St. James Parish. I want to unify our governments. I want to work very closely with the school board. I want to recreation. We have a beautiful new high school here on the West Bank in St. James Parish, and we need to work together with the school board and create a recreational facility that can house different age levels of children, so parents are not running all the way across the parish from one ballpark to the other, because you have pee-wees playing in one park and you have older kids playing in a different park, and just things of that nature. We're going to take our senior programs, we're going to build upon them, we're going to enhance them. That's some of the most top priorities I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, how would you characterize the current business environment in the parish, and what would be your vision for future business growth? Mr. Dufrene, you get to go first this time.
Well, in my opinion, I think we have enough smokestack industry in St. James Parish, but I would depend on the DEQ and the EPA to come in here and run some plume tests and test our atmospheric capabilities. Some people think we have enough, some people think we don't have enough. Certainly we have to live together with industry, because industry provides 75% of the tax base here in St. James Parish. And if we wouldn't have the industry paying such a large tax base, we certainly wouldn't be able to appreciate the conveniences that we have here in St. James Parish. We need to find different business growth. Maybe we can try and bring in some businesses that support the industry that we already have instead of bringing in new smokestack industries. We can certainly look towards tourism. We can look trying to bring people in here from New Orleans. You know, we have people come and visit St. James Parish. So I'd like to expand on tourism. I'd like to expand on different businesses that support the industry that we already have. Thank you.
Mr. Keller.
Yes, I believe that currently we have a very strong business climate here in St. James Parish, but that doesn't mean that we don't have room to grow and expand. One of the things I would like to do is make sure that we have an effective mix of industries, make sure that we have a proper mix of both major industrial companies as well as small businesses. We have to make sure that we have an effective mix because as we see today, the global world is changing, certain countries are in crisis, and industries come and go, within a year. So we can't focus solely on manufacturing and industrial industries, but we also need to focus on other types of businesses and industries. We have a strong tourism climate here. We can expand upon retail opportunities, help develop opportunities for our small businesses to grow and expand, add additional small businesses within our community. But also we need to focus on our young people, because none of this will matter if our young people don't want to stay in St. James Parish. As a young person, I consider myself to still be a young person. I want to see people stay in St. James Parish and not graduate from high school or college and move outside the parish. So we need to identify the types of industries and jobs that our young people are interested in and want to pursue. We're pretty much right in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and both have a bustling and booming tech industry that's developing. We can bring in technology companies, and we can have programmers and system engineers and tech opportunities for our young folks if they're not interested in working in a plant or working for a major industry. We can also work on film and tourism as a component to add to our tourism industry. You know, there's a booming film industry in the state, and we can take advantage of that as well. As deputy assessor in the tax assessor's office, I do understand where we receive our tax revenues and our funding here in the parish. And yes, we do receive a large amount of revenue from industry, but our residents pay property taxes as well, and they contribute significantly to the financial revenue for the parish. A lot of industries have been receiving exemptions and go several years without paying much of anything in taxes when they enter the parish. So subdivisions, adding additional subdivisions and new homes to the parish will also increase the property tax value and tax base for the community. So there are a variety of ways to increase revenue and promote our parish. We don't have to focus solely on industry. We can have a mixture and make sure that we have that proper mix that fulfills the needs of the community.
You can hold on to that microphone. You both mentioned industry. A few years ago, the state, via an executive order by the governor, made changes to the industrial tax exemption program. Several companies and facilities in St. James Parish benefit from that. What will be your administration's approach now that local governments have a role in the ITEP process? What will your administration's approach be for evaluating which companies or companies looking to invest in St. James Parish should benefit from an ITEP contract?
I think that the governor had the right idea and he was on the right track with making changes and reforms to the ITEP program. For those who aren't aware, the ITEP is the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, and that allows major industries to receive a tax exemption to build or expand within the parish. Before the governor implemented his executive order, those decisions were made from Baton Rouge. So local government had no say on whether major industries would pay taxes within the local communities of which they wanted to serve. Governor Everett came into office, and I believe he made the right decision by making sure that local government and the local governing agencies and authorities had a say in what is done with the tax revenues that go back to the local communities. While he made a very good first step, we've seen that there's been some roadblocks and hiccups along the way. Fortunately, here in St. James Parish, we haven't had any issues with approving exemptions as needed, but in other parishes, the process has not worked out as smoothly. I would support if the governor wanted to, instead of having each governing authority vote, for instance, the parish council, the school board, and the sheriff, instead of having each one have to decide whether or not to grant the exemption, I would support having one board in each parish that's made up of all the governing authorities and have that board make the decisions. It's important that that decision remains a local decision and that the local community has a say in how the taxes are implemented and who gets a tax exemption and who doesn't.
Mr. Dufrene.
If I'd be gracious enough to be elected to be your St. James Parish president, first of all, these tax exemptions, I would not allow them to be upfront. I'd want to hold these industries' feet to the fire. When they say they're going to hire local people, then you get your percentage of tax exemption after you do so. When you say you're going to contract local catering vendors, then you're going to get your tax exemption after you prove you have done so. When you say you're going to hire local contractors, then you can receive your tax exemption after you prove you have done so. The way things have been going in years past, we issue these significant tax exemptions. Everybody walks away from the table, and St. James Parish is left high and dry, and we have all these people and contractors and vendors coming from out of town and out of state even to provide the needs that these industries need. So I want to take an extra step to make sure that St. James Parish is put first. And I would not provide these tax exemptions until it's done.
All right, next question. So quality of life issues such as government services, opportunities for entertainment, and appropriate residential growth are important in every community, and is no different obviously for St. James Parish. What are some of the quality of life issues that you feel need to be addressed, and what will you do from a quality of life standpoint to help St. James maybe separate itself from some of its neighboring parishes? And Mr. Dufrene, you get to go first.
Repeat that question one more time. I'm kind of trying to comprehend. You kind of said a lot.
Sure, that's okay. So quality of life is obviously important, whether that's government services, entertainment opportunities for residents, etc. What items do you feel need to be addressed from a quality of life standpoint? And what are some ways in providing a quality of life for St. James residents that may help St. James be more attractive for people to come live and work, say, than other neighboring parishes?
I think we have a pretty nice quality of life right now in St. James Parish. I mean, we have a generous budget that we work with, that we provide transportation, and we provide a lot of elderly senior programs. I certainly would work towards enhancing those. I would work towards enhancing our recreational facilities, like I had mentioned a little earlier. We need to provide a better quality of life. We need to take care of our children, and we need to take care of our seniors and make sure they're comfortable. I would look at bringing in, we talked about industries and businesses. I look at bringing in different types of businesses to provide more conveniences for our residents in St. James Parish, so we don't have to travel so far outside the parish to find the things that we need to make life convenient.
Mr. Keller.
Thank you. As part of our quality of life, we have to make sure that we don't only focus on today, but we focus on tomorrow. So when thinking about quality of life, we have to think about the young people within our community and what we need to do to keep and retain our young residents in St. James Parish. I think of my nephew when I think of this issue, and what would I like to see him do? Recently, he just started playing baseball, t-ball. So, we need to make sure we have recreational programs because that makes a difference. Over the summer, he took swimming lessons at a public school where he lives, at a public pool where he lives. We don't have a public pool that's accessible to all the communities. We have one in one recreational district, but we don't have any parish-wide public pool offered by the parish government. Recently, we had the school board work together to build a pool, and we have that program going, but we can continue to do more and do better for the people of St. James Parish. I would look forward to working with all of our elected officials and leaders, including the school board, to properly pool our resources to provide these resources to our residents. I want to expand our parks, make sure that there are indoor facilities at all of our parks, make sure that the parks are available and accessible to the residents so that they can rent out the facilities and use them for community events. I want to hire more staff in our recreation department to put on different programs so that from toddlers all the way to seniors, there's programs that people can participate in and take part in within our recreational program. In addition to that, we need to make sure that as we grow, that we do smart growth. We have smart growth, making sure that we build housing in the appropriate areas, making sure that we reserve places for retail, shopping, and business and tourism. We need to make sure that we include all of that in our plan for moving St. James Parish forward. We need to make sure that we take care of our elderly and seniors in their later years in life, making sure that they don't go unnoticed or unheard, that someone is there to visit them, to talk with them, and make sure that their needs are being taken care of. These are some of the things that I would like to focus on, and with your support and listening to our community, I want to expand upon our workforce development and making sure that our young people stay here for the future.
Great. This next question, Mr. Keller, you'll go first on this one. South Louisiana, we talk a lot about water. Here in St. James Parish, both flood protection, surge protection, and drainage are important issues, as is the National Flood Insurance Program and flood insurance rates. What needs to be done to improve both flood protection, which hopefully would also improve flood insurance rates?
Well, with tackling the flood protection and flood insurance program, St. James Parish can't do it alone. We have to have a regional, and in fact, frankly, a statewide approach. And we have to all be on one page in order to get this done. Because any changes that are made in St. James Parish will also affect Ascension, Lafourche, St. John, Livingston parishes. So we all have to make sure that we're on the same page. So one of my plans will be to work with our neighboring elected officials and regional leaders, state leaders, our federal delegation, to make sure that we're all on one page when developing these plans. We see progress is being made in neighboring parishes with the West Shore Lake Pontchartrain project. We're included in that, but there's still more work that needs to be done in St. James Parish. Plan on working with our congressional delegation to finish the task. In addition, with the NFIP program, the insurance model that the federal government currently has is broken and it won't work. It won't continue to be sustainable. I feel that private industry would be able to better handle the insurance program and be able to keep the rates low and manageable. The federal government is just, frankly, is not set up to provide the most cost-effective and efficient program. There are reforms that can be made to the NFIP. I feel that our residents and our businesses and our government officials have done a lot to comply with the federal regulations in order for us to be able to have the lowest flood insurance rates possible. I know many people come into the permitting office dealing with building permits. Some people don't understand why they have to elevate their homes or raise their homes, or why they're in a certain flood zone and other people aren't. It's because of the regulations with the NFIP and flood protection. So our communities, they're doing the work, so we need the federal government to step up and do their part as well. So I plan on working with our leaders to get that job done.
Mr. Dufrene, flood protection, drainage, flood insurance.
As far as flood protection, on the West Bank, we do have some flood protection in the back vestry, with the exception of Terre Haute subdivision. We need to make some improvements there. That's our most vulnerable area on the West Bank. The long-term goal for the West Bank would be the upper barrier risk reduction, which is the biggest long-term effect of South Bastion, which connects St. Charles to North Lafourche, which would also include the West Bank of St. James Parish. On the East Bank, we just need to work together with the Corps to find a project and identify the most cost-effective project that would work with the Corps to provide a base elevation that we're looking for, and that would also align with the West Shore project. There's several ideas out on a drawing board right now. Some are favorable, some are not so favorable. If we was to work together more closely with the Corps of Engineers and try to find a plan that would align with the West Shore project, but also not require as much mitigation. Mitigation is the most costly thing that we have. If some kind of way, there was talk about the airline project, which is, I personally like the airline project, but the airline highway is just not high enough. It would provide a short-term plan. At least we would not have to sandbag quite so often, but it's still not a long-term plan because it doesn't align with the West Shore project, and it's not high enough to fall in the base elevation. So if we can work with the federal government, we can work with the West Shore alignment and get some of those hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that's being used to construct levees up to St. James Parish on both sides of us, and that's excluding us, then that would be the proper way to go. Because we need to send a message to our Congress, our congressional leaders in Washington, that we cannot just sit back and allow them to build these levees and exclude St. James Parish, and one day we're going to be flooded. And I don't think these people want to flood us either. Ascension Parish has their plans for their pumping, their broke pumping stations, what they have, and that's really the only times we flood. It's backwater that we have in St. James Parish on the East Bank. We're not below sea level, and if we can work together with Ascension Parish and try to find a happy medium to their pumping procedures to where they don't push so much water into St. James Parish, that would be the proper thing to do.
All right, Mr. Dufrene, this next question will go to you first. Several candidates, both in legislative races and some candidates running for governor, are talking about the need for a limited constitutional convention to address the state's budget crisis and tax structure. But many of them are also talking about examining and looking at making changes to the relationship between Baton Rouge and state government and local governments at the parish and municipal level. What skills do each of you have that will allow you to represent, and how will you represent the residents of St. James Parish and local government as these conversations may start to take off next year in Baton Rouge?
I have a significant amount of experience that I would be able to use to represent St. James Parish in these efforts. I've been self-employed all my adult life since I've been the age of 23 years old. I've been actively involved in Farm Bureau, and I've also been a board member of the American Sugarcane League. And with that, I lobby the legislators in Baton Rouge, and I have lots of years of experience lobbying congressional offices in Washington, D.C. I know what it takes to unify. We can't go single-handedly by ourselves and go to get a lot of things done. We need to create unity, we need to create coalitions, and we need to create one bigger voice to go into lobby Baton Rouge. I think if we can come up with a plan that would allow budgeting on a state level to start at the local level, then we can eliminate a lot of wasteful spending. On the state level, they create budgets for certain projects and programs, and they just ship the money down to local localities, and a lot of money is all wasted. That's one of the things I've learned in my experience through Farm Bureau. Our organization is governed from the bottom up, which means that on parish level, we provide our needs and our resources to the state, and the state provides it to the National Farm Bureau. If we can duplicate that in some kind of way and make it to where each local parishes can only request the specific needs, then we can eliminate a lot of wasteful spending.
Mr. Keller.
I think that a limited constitutional convention can create some significant progress and improvements for all of the people of Louisiana. Our Constitution was written and designed several decades ago for a time that no longer exists. As times change, technology changes, life changes, we need to adapt to those changes. There's too much money that our lawmakers and our state leaders can't touch because it automatically goes into a specific pot for specific purposes, and no matter what the situation is, whether it be an emergency or not, that money can't be used for other uses. I have extensive experience working with leaders on all levels, and I will use that to effectively advocate for St. James Parish. I've, worked from the courthouse all the way to the White House, local, state, and federal leaders. I know how to get the job done. I will advocate for St. James Parish to get an effective number of representatives on the Constitutional Convention so that they can have a say and input into what changes are made and adopted. In addition to that, I'll work with our lawmakers so that we can make changes in the short term where we can and propose constitutional amendments and send those to the people for changes that we can make. But we really do need to have not a full constitutional convention, but at least a limited one to address some of these needs. I feel that local government should have more say in how local funds are used and spent. And for some regions of the state that maybe are not as financially solvent as St. James Parish is, they may need support from the state, but here we have an abundance of resources, and I feel that these are our resources and that we should be able to say how our resources are used.
All right. This next question, one of you touched on this earlier, but St. James Parish does sit kind of at the midway point between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. The Chamber, we work closely with both Greater New Orleans Inc. in New Orleans and the Baton Rouge Area Chamber in Baton Rouge. Because of your geography and your location, do you see benefits? Are there natural benefits of working with either New Orleans or Baton Rouge or both? And I believe this question goes to Mr. Keller first.
Yes, definitely. There's only good that can come from working with both of the state's two largest metropolitan areas. We have a lot to be proud of here in St. James Parish, but we can also rely upon resources and things that are available through our neighboring partners. Greater New Orleans Inc., GNO Inc., does a great job of supporting St. James Parish in addition to our River Region Chamber of Commerce. I feel that New Orleans provides great tourism opportunities for our community by bringing tourists from New Orleans into our communities. The airport, although it's technically in Jefferson Parish, is still close by and provides a short enough distance from New Orleans for people to fly in and do business here in the parish. And even the Baton Rouge Airport, which is a little further away, provides opportunities for people to easily access our region. I know a major issue that the Baton Rouge Area Chamber and GNO Inc. are working on is a regional rail system. And I fully support that measure and that effort. By working together, we can connect Baton Rouge and New Orleans and provide rail transit for passengers between the two cities. People traveling between the two cities will have the opportunity to stop in St. James Parish, maybe visit a plantation, eat at one of our local restaurants, shop at some of our local stores. These partnerships are crucial for the success and the viability of St. James Parish. So I would like to I look forward to working more with our regional leaders and creating more unique partnerships and seeing this project through.
Mr. Dufrene. Sure. So St. James sits almost at the midway point between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Do you see benefits and how would you work with New Orleans or Baton Rouge or both for the betterment of St. James Parish?
Well, we definitely would have to work cooperatively between both of the major cities, and we are fortunate to be located in such a unique geographical location. Like I said, we are in the middle of New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and oftentimes being a businessman myself, I find things that I need to support my business, either New Orleans will have a better supply, supply of a certain commodity or a certain thing that I need, and sometimes you have to go to Baton Rouge to do it. So by being located here in St. James Parish, we get the best of both worlds. We could use what Baton Rouge and New Orleans both has to offer, and especially when we get into the tourism, get heavier into the tourism aspect in St. James Parish, we be able to draw tourists from both cities, and it's the same distance between either one. So it's going to be a unique opportunity to enhance the tourism in St. James Parish.
Great, thank you. You can hold to the microphone. This question will go to you first. So since there is no incumbent in this race, there will be a new parish president no matter who wins. And though the people elect just the parish president, obviously they're getting a whole team of officials to help run and lead the parish. What will be your criteria? What is your philosophy on how you fill those top staff positions and hire the people that will actually do the work in running parish government?
I plan on soliciting applicants for the top positions. As we sitting here today, I have no one chosen to be any one of my directors. I have no promises made. My first main objective is to win the election first. After winning the election, I'd be happy to talk with the people who's in place already, and we currently will seek applications for the directors' positions, and I will find the most suitable, the most experienced, the most knowledgeable, and the best person that I can find to fit that specific need. Hopefully it may be who's already sitting in place, but if not, then I'm going to do whatever we have to do in the director positions to bring the best form of government that we possibly can to the people of St. James Parish.
Mr. Keller.
I think that an open race provides a great opportunity for the next parish president to meet with the people of St. James Parish to determine how do they want to move forward for this next decade. The next parish president will take office on January 13th, 2020. 2020, we the start of a new decade. We need to start thinking about what do we want to see in the next 10 years for our community. I believe that it's important to reach out to everyone for advice and support and information. As far as the top leadership positions, I feel that it should be an open and transparent process. If I am elected parish president, I will open up applications for all positions, whether it's entry-level staff to department directors. We'll take applications from throughout the community, and we'll look through all applications for the most qualified individuals for each department. Now, that could be the current director that's in office, or it could be someone else. In addition to that, I intend upon meeting with our community leaders and elected officials and establishing an advisory board before the new parish president takes office to assist in reviewing the applications and determining what needs our parish face going forward. That committee will hold public meetings and receive input from the public. They'll take that input and put together a report and issue recommendations to the incoming parish president as far as what needs to be done and action steps to take to move forward the parish government. I'll use that document to get these things done, and I expect you, the people of St. James Parish, to hold me accountable. I want to make sure that we move forward and do what's best for all of St. James Parish and make sure that we have the best St. James Parish for years to come.
You're both doing great. We have a couple more questions. We could go all night, honestly, but I think we're only going to do a couple more questions. I was actually at lunch today at an event in West Baton Rouge Parish, and they did something that was interesting. The chamber there, they recognize every month at one of their meetings outstanding local high school students. So they had 2 students there, juniors, I think, from Port Allen High School. And it made me think, if you were sitting down as parish president next year, and maybe you were sitting with students, either from Lutcher or St. James, and talking with them about the future, what would be the what reasons would you give them for saying when they graduate high school or they go to college to come back and start their adult career, whether it's their family or their employment in St. James Parish? Why should they continue to call this home even once they've graduated high school and started to move on? And I think, Mr. Keller, you get to go first.
Well, I would approach that issue just a little bit differently. And instead of me talking to the students, I would want to listen to what the students have to say to me. Because I think far too often we have adults who constantly preach to our children and our youth, which is important, but they're leaving our community. And part of the reason they're leaving our community is because we're not listening to what they have to say. If we want them to come back after high school or college to St. James Parish, we need to make sure that we're offering and providing them with the tools and resources they need to purchase a home here in St. James Parish, make sure that that home is safe, that they can get a good paying job that they'll enjoy. The new generation, I'm a millennial, but we're already moving into the next generation. There's certain jobs that they just won't do. So we need to make sure that we're aware of that and we adopt our businesses and our business climate to meet those future needs. Children are very smart, they're very intelligent, they have goals and aspirations, and many want to stay in our community, but after they come home from work or pick up their kids from school, there's nothing for them to do here in St. James Parish. We need to make sure that we provide a vibrant community with activities and programs for people to do, whether that's to host outdoor concerts on weekends so that people can do that, have jogging trails throughout the parish, additional places for people to fish and do recreation, having adult and youth sport leagues. We need to make sure that we're engaging our young people and finding out what they want from St. James Parish and incorporating that into our plan for future growth, because it doesn't matter what I say and what I think if that's not what our young people coming up want or are interested in. So we have to take a step back and listen before we continue to do more actions. We need to listen to what our young people are saying, what our adults are saying, what our seniors are saying. We need to spend more time listening and then coming together with a plan, a unified vision for St. James Parish so that we can move this parish forward for years to come.
Mr. Dufrene, what would you tell to those high school students? Why should they stay?
Well, I would tell these high school students that they should stay here in St. James Parish because from my experience, I'm a very well-traveled person. I've been a lot of places, I've been a lot of states in the United States, and I've been a lot of countries in the world. And things that I've experienced in other places outside of St. James Parish, a lot of people don't really care who their neighbors are. Here in St. James Parish, we're very unique when it comes to families, when it comes to uniting, when an individual takes sick, when an individual has a crisis, when an individual has any type of issue. It doesn't matter if you was enemies yesterday, today you're coming together and you're raising money and you providing the needs for these people, for these families that's struggling, and that's why I would entice our children to stay in St. James Parish. It just builds such an awesome person and creates unique individuals and adults, and that's the kind of people I like to surround myself with.
Good. Last question. We've talked a lot about some important, I think, pretty specific topics. So I'm curious if you could just share with the audience and the people who may be watching the video, what has been your most enjoyable or favorite part of running for parish president? Which part of being a candidate do you like the least? Is it a trap question? Could be.
The thing that I like the least is I don't get enough sleep, for one. But what I like the most is I consider myself to be a genuine people person. You know, I thrive on communication. You know, whether it's having a conversation with a resident down the street or whether it's with legislators in Washington. And I just love people. I love my friends. I love my family. And that's one of the biggest things that's motivated me to seek the office of parish president so I can become your leader. And what I enjoy the most, in a nutshell, is just meeting new people.
Mr. Keller, what you like the most? What maybe not so much?
Well, I guess the thing I can say that I like the least about running for parish president so far is that there's only one of me. If there was something I could do, I wish I could clone myself, just because there's so many people to meet and so many places to go, and everyone wants your attention, so it's kind of hard to balance that and make sure that you reach everyone. So if anyone can invent a cloning machine, I'll be ready to sign up for that to use during the campaign trail. The thing I like the most about running for parish president is that very early on in life, I decided to commit myself to public service. You know, while this is my first run at elective office, I've been working in government for several years now. I've had so many wonderful opportunities, and I've had so many privileges that have been provided to me by this parish. From growing up in a wonderful community, a South Vacherie, going to church every Sunday, praying and praising our God, and just being in fellowship with the brothers and sisters of St. James Parish. I've been provided with so much, from my public school education through the St. James Parish school system, you know, becoming a St. James Parish Student of the Year, representing my parish on the regional and statewide level, you know, so many great teachers and business leaders and community members that have touched my life in ways that they may not even know. It just means so much. And hearing from people as I'm on this campaign trail, it means so much to me that they may remember something that I did from years ago that I completely forgot about, but it touched their life and they still remember it to this day. So that's the reason why I'm running for parish president, because St. James Parish has given so much to me that I feel that I need to give a little bit back to St. James Parish. I've had wonderful opportunities. I've traveled to Washington, D.C., worked on Capitol Hill and at the White House. I've had opportunities at the state capitol in Baton Rouge. I even worked for a Fortune 500 company in Baton Rouge, the Shaw Group, in the corporate office, dealing with the CEO and senior vice presidents and business leaders, and drafted policies and procedures that went out to a workforce of 25,000 people working worldwide. I've had many opportunities. I could have gone on and done a number of other things, but I chose to come back here to St. James Parish after graduation and serve my community. And so that's why I'm here, that's why I'm running, and I wish I had the support of the people here. Thank you.
Well, thank you both for putting yourself forward. I always say whenever we have these events, anybody in today's environment who decides to get involved in public service, they're either crazy or really ambitious, and so we appreciate that. So that brings the question and answer portion to a close. But as I said at the beginning, you each get 3 minutes to make a closing statement. I think Mr. Dufrene went first at the beginning. So Mr. Keller, you get to give your closing statement first. Again, you have 3 minutes.
Once again, I just would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event this evening, this forum, as well as all of you in the audience for attending and listening to what the candidates for parish president had to say. If I'm elected to serve as parish president, I promise to commit 100% to bringing forth the best for all of the people in St. James Parish. I believe I have the experience from working on the local, state, and federal government level to get the job done starting on day one. I've been in the courthouse for several years now. I know my way around the different departments and agencies. I know who to speak to get things done and how to get it done. As parish president, one of my major focuses will be on tapping the unutilized state and federal funding through grants, initiatives, and using that to improve our drainage systems and to conduct infrastructure improvement projects. In addition to that, I want to enhance and expand our facilities within our parks and add additional recreational programs to our community. Currently, I serve as a deputy assessor in the assessor's office, and before that, I served as a public information officer for parish government. I've served as an intern at the White House and at the state capitol in Baton Rouge. I earned a bachelor's degree in mass communications from Nichols State University, and then later went on to the Southern University Law Center, where I received a Juris Doctorate degree and a certification in public law. While I was in law school, I was selected by my peers because of my hard work and effort to represent them, my peers from Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, to represent them before the American Bar Association, which is the world's largest professional organization for legal professionals. There I interacted with top attorneys, corporate, government, you name it, from across the country. Before attending law school, I was a corporate management analyst at the Shaw Group in Baton Rouge. And there, I was tasked with streamlining work processes and finding improvements for the corporate office and implementing policies and procedures for the workforce. As parish president, I promise to work every day for the people of St. James Parish. I look forward to meeting you on the campaign trail and sharing my vision with you. Thank you.
Mr. Dufrene, your closing statement.
All right, again, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here and taking an interest, again, in who your next St. James Parish president is going to be. You know, when on election day, when you get behind the curtain and you close it, that's your unique opportunity right there to select the person whom you choose to lead St. James Parish into the future. And it's very important that you make the right choice. I'd like you to consider me to be your next parish president. I know as if, my experiences through my building my businesses and my career, that everything that I have learned through building businesses and financing and borrowing money and negotiating contracts and drainage, infrastructure. I started off by myself as my only employee, and now on the average I employ up to 20 people. So I know what it takes to work people. I know what it takes to run a business. I know what it takes to operate a budget within your means. I never had a tax base coming in year after year to float my checking account. It depended on my blood, sweat, and tears. And I know what hard work's all about. I was very passionate about building my business, and I'm gonna lead St. James Parish with that same passion and that same integrity for you, for the St. James Parish government, and we're gonna be successful. We're gonna unite St. James Parish. We're gonna bring everyone together, and I just know without a doubt that with all of my legislative experiences, I know how to maneuver myself around government. I've never held a public office before, but government is not new to me whatsoever. So I would like for you to please consider my experience over the years, and I humbly ask each and every one of you to vote for me on October the 12th. Thank you.
We have a few announcements, but first, let's give our candidates a round of applause. And you've been a good audience, so why don't you give yourselves a round of applause? So I do want to sincerely thank you on behalf of the chamber leadership, the chamber board, for participating in the process, for coming tonight, being respectful of our candidates, and hearing what they have to say about what they want to do if they're elected parish president. I would remind you, as we said at the beginning, The cameras in the room have recorded tonight's event. You'll be able to see that in the next day or so on the chamber website, which, if you would like to know, is the www.riverregionchamber.org. So feel free to look that up and share with your friends and neighbors who may not have been able to join us this evening. And then I would also leave you with this public service announcement. Early voting in Louisiana will start on September 28th and go through October 5th. And then, of course, Election Day is October 12th. And I don't have it on here, but if there's a runoff election is November, somebody help me, 6th, I think, or 16th. I think the 6th. So there's a lot to happen before then. We'll figure out the date. But so if you want to take advantage of early voting, if not, please vote on October 12th. Thank you, everyone, again for coming. Thank you to our candidates, and I pray everybody has a safe trip home. Good night.